this Sunday, maybe I should do something important. And I was thinking through it, and I was thinking through all the things that I needed to prepare myself for. And I really heard the Lord say, Larry, in the season that you're in right now, this is just for me, not for other ministries, but the season you're in, I don't need your performance. I need your heart, because that's all that's going to get through this next season. And not that all that we do is all performance, because we have to do things. We have to preach the word. We have to worship. We have to do all these things. But performance-driven Christianity, performance-driven ministry in this season is probably not a good choice right now, because God is moving on past performance-driven to heart-driven things. He's a heart God. And so I was reminded of that. And I thought, Lord, I don't know what that, I don't know what that means. I know things that are in my heart that I've said before, but I thought, I've said that before, because he brought to mind something I'm going to share with you about acts of kindness. And I said, I've shared that before, but he said to my heart, but that was a different season, and it didn't have the impact that I want you to have today. And so in a broken state and somewhat of a disoriented state and not feeling confident, I know one thing. I know that Jesus is really calling for the hearts of sons and daughters and fathers and mothers to be turned to each other. As Malachi said, and I've said to you before, it was the last two verses in the book of Malachi before 430 years of silence where God didn't speak. And that qualifies for the law of last mention, meaning when you're having a conversation with somebody and you're not going to talk to them for 430 years, you're going to say the most thing that's most important to your heart in those final few words. And so those final few words before 430 years, before the birth of Christ, Malachi says, in the last days, I'm going to send forth the spirit of Elijah to turn the hearts. It's all about hearts. It wasn't about performance. It wasn't about ministry. I'm going to turn the hearts of the fathers to the sons and daughters to their fathers, lest I smite the earth with a curse. And I'm going to say a really hard thing, and this is not for you, and I really mean it's not for you. You're amazing. Really hard. There's a lot of talk about what God is going to do and what God needs to do. We need a revival because things are going crazy, and aren't they going crazy? Our world is crazy right now, and so much crazy crosswinds in the spirit, crazy false information, crazy stuff, crazy people, the whole. And we're crying out for a revival. We're crying out for something from God to give us to kind of counteract this craziness, as was in Malachi. And because the world is under a curse. It's like a curse is dropped on this world. But Malachi said it straight, and I'll say it again so that maybe you can hear it better than the other time. He says this, in the last days, and I think he was speaking perhaps of us, in the last days, this prophet said, I will do something and turning hearts of fathers and mothers and sons and daughters, spiritually and physically, to each other, lest I smite the earth with a curse. If we want to sidestep this curse we're under, we got to stop the performance stuff and get to the heart stuff. If we want to sidestep this craziness going on, we have to lean into the kindness of God and the heart of God and what God's doing and what God's saying. So it's not about my performance of ministry. It is about my softness or tenderness or openness of heart that God is talking to me about again. So I just want to give you a couple. I want to talk to you about acts of kindness and as related to sowing and reaping and the law of reciprocity. And I know what all that means. And I know reciprocity means receiving back in the same measure that you give. And we call it sowing and reaping. But we think that's just money, but it's not just money. It is heart things. I mean, heart for heart. And I'll get into that in a minute. Luke 6:38 says, give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. I don't think there's any place there he said anything about money. Give, in other words, give your life, and it shall be given back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Because kindness begets copious amounts of kindness. Love begets copious amounts of love. You get back what you give away. So if you're asking for God's encouragement in your life, you should probably try giving someone else encouragement, because it'll come back to you pressed down, shaken together, and running over. So I want to talk to you as I've talked to you once before but now with a different perspective and different heart, because we're in a different season about acts of kindness demonstrated in the last 2 days of Jesus' life that prepositioned him and the church for one of the greatest moves of God that ever happened. And it was all predicated on acts of kindness. And it began in 33 AD. It was 3 days of acts of kindness that brought the New Testament church to this roaring life, and that brought you and I to this place 2,000 years later, where we're still walking out what happened on those 3 days. But I don't think we understand what it cost Jesus and what he had to do and what was involved in the law of reciprocity for us to enjoy what we're enjoying now. And I think we don't know, or will not know, the effect of what it's going to have on this next generation and our generation unless we understand the trade-off there and the acts of kindness demonstrated there. And so there were 3 acts of kindness that happened, one on Thursday night in 33 AD before he was crucified. The next day on Friday afternoon, an act of kindness. And then on Friday evening, another act of kindness. And so if you just give me the grace to just share with my heart this it's not even teaching. It's just a heart cry. It's just a heart expression. And if you could just give me the grace to do that as you have before, I want to talk to you about the first act of kindness demonstrated in Jesus' life. And it was before he was going to be crucified. He knew something horrible was coming. I'm going to say it. I'll say it again this morning. I said, something really bad is coming, guys. I'm telling you, something really untoward and crazier than we know now is coming on this earth. And we need to preposition ourselves for that. Jesus knew that. Jesus knew that he was going to be betrayed. He knew he was going to be tortured. He knew he was going to die. And he knew this on Thursday morning. But you find him on Thursday night, the night before his betrayal, in his death. And he is in John 13, 1 through 15.